Chosen ones, welcome. You are not just dreamers. You are visionaries. The world may not understand you now, but history shows that those who challenge the norm are first ridiculed before they are revered. Steve Jobs, like many before him, was called crazy before he was called a genius. Your ideas may seem far-fetched today, dismissed in conversations. But when they become reality, silence will replace doubt. Keep believing. Keep creating. The world will catch up. Fun fact: scientists declared flying devices to be impossible from a scientific standpoint in 1903. Thank God the Wright brothers did not get the message. Otherwise, you would still be traveling across continents by boat. Hold on tight if they have been accusing you of being deluded, out of touch, or even completely crazy. History has a humorous way of demonstrating that the distinction between genius and crazy is really a manifestation that is just waiting to happen. And you know what? Next in line is you. People didn't label you insane because your ideas weren't correct, which is the misfortune of early vision. Because you were living in a world they had not yet seen, they labeled you insane. The true curse of seeing is that you were planning for future while they were occupied with adhering to regulations created for yesterday. Before anybody else could understand the patterns, you saw them emerging. You worried them by making judgments based on things that hadn't transpired yet. In actuality, most individuals want evidence before they accept the possibility of anything. They must first see, feel, and see another person's success. However, visionaries, they don't hold out for evidence. Even in the absence of any concrete evidence, people have faith in their gut feelings. You sounded weird for that reason. You were conversing in an untranslated tongue of the future. It's lonely to be ahead of your time. It's like stumbling into invisible barriers while exploring a world where everyone else is blindfolded. However, they just laugh, or worse, completely ignore you when you attempt to explain what's about to happen. And it is painful. The trick is that after the dust settles, people will turn to you because of the exact thing they made fun of you for. Because you're suddenly not crazy anymore. You're a genius once your vision becomes their reality. That change is unavoidable. Time is the only difference between insanity and genius. And everyone will say they saw it coming when the future you foresaw materializes. Even if no one believed you, you'll know the truth because you were the first to experience it. Proof, not vision, is worshipped by society. People trust in outcomes rather than vision. People will think you're crazy if you enter a room and start talking about something that doesn't yet exist. This is a result of society's addiction to evidence. They will support you if you can show them a shining success story, but share with them a crazy concept that hasn't yet come to pass. They'll ignore you more quickly than a spam email. It's not that people can't comprehend your vision. Rather, they are programmed to believe in what has previously been shown to be reliable, safe, and effective. People hold on to it. Instead of blank canvases, they want plans. Ironically, every significant innovation begins as a crazy, untested concept. However, once such beliefs become commonplace, society easily forgets that. No one recalls how the first smartphones were derided as pointless toys. Nowadays, individuals are unable to get through a meal without checking theirs. Visionaries face a harsh reality as a result of their fixation on evidence. You have to construct the thing first, achieve enormous success, and then they'll think you were correct all along. Additionally, they will behave as if they were involved from the beginning. The game is that. However, they refuse to acknowledge the fact that vision generates evidence, not the other way around. Every revolutionary concept seemed absurd until it didn't. Therefore, keep in mind that when people mock your thoughts or brush off your crazy talk, they are rejecting the discomfort of the unknown, not you. When it's safe, they'll come around. But by then, you'll have moved on to your next crazy notion. And the same thing will happen again. The fear reflex. It's them, not you. It's more about them than it is about you when people label you insane. They find your views unsettling, since they go against what they're used to. Like a life raft, people cling to what they know, and their initial reaction is to push back when you say anything that upsets their cozy little world. It's simpler to make fun of you than to acknowledge that they're afraid of change. It's not that they really think your ideas are absurd. They are scared because they secretly wonder whether you could be correct. Everything they believe they understood is debatable if you're correct. Their dependable, secure routines, not so dependable all of a sudden. Instead of being interested, others make fun of you because they detest that emotion. They use it as a protection mechanism to shield themselves from the anxiety of making a mistake. The problem is that their fear isn't your issue. Their fears cannot control your choices. The wiring of visionaries is distinct. You see promise where others see uncertainty. You see opportunity where others perceive peril. People will always feel uneasy about that disparity because it makes them face the boundaries they have set for themselves. Some of them will eventually change their minds. They will act as if they have always believed in you after seeing your crazy ideas come to fruition. However, no matter how much evidence you provide, some people will continue to mistrust you and cling to their fears. And that's all right. Not everyone is destined to follow in your footsteps. It's your responsibility to keep moving ahead despite their fear trying to pull you back, not to persuade them. After all, those who make a difference in the world aren't the ones who ask for permission. In any case, they are the ones with the courage to go into the unknown. The ultimate form of retaliation is manifestation. When you told them about your dreams aloud, they laughed. When you boldly asserted what was feasible, they rolled their eyes. Perhaps they even murmured behind your back that you were out of touch or insane. The beauty of manifestation, however, is that it is indifferent to viewpoints. It only requires your conviction and unwavering action. It doesn't need affirmation. And the greatest kind of retaliation occurs when that belief becomes reality. It's the time when the world has to change the way it tells your success story, not the trivial "I told you so." All of a sudden, the exact thing they made fun of becomes the model they want to adhere to. Those who had doubts about you begin to seek guidance. The people who dismissed you are curious about your secret. In actuality, however, there was no mystery. No matter how ridiculous it sounded at the moment, it always came down to your commitment to speak your vision into reality and support it with action. You were out there creating your future from the ground up, while they awaited assurances and evidence. Manifestation not only disproves your detractors, but it also dispels their notions of what is feasible. People are forced to face the unpleasant reality that they undervalued you and maybe themselves. It is thus the ultimate form of retaliation, because it's about redefining what's possible in front of their eyes and leaving them dumbfounded, not simply about being correct. What's the greatest part? By the time they comprehend what has transpired, you've already moved on to your next lunatic concept, prepared to completely revise the rules. Real-time cognitive dissonance. Those who questioned you experience an intriguing event as your vision comes to pass. They experience a clash of the mind. It no longer makes sense for them to believe anything. They convince themselves that maintaining the status quo was the safest course, that big ideas were stupid, and that the world was predictable. Now, however, your so-called gibberish is in front of them, real and obvious. Cognitive dissonance then starts to manifest. When faced with a fact that contradicts their views, skeptics might either accept that they were mistaken or battle valiantly to preserve their outdated narrative. Most opt for the latter. Logic will be twisted. Your accomplishment will be minimized. Or they will even say it was pure luck. Why? Because acknowledging your correctness forces them to face their own shortcomings, including the fear, skepticism, and narrow-mindedness that prevented them from seeing what you did. It is an odd sight to see. On the outside, they may seem uninterested or even contemptuous. On the inside, however, they are trying to figure out what just transpired. They begin to doubt everything. What else have I been incorrect about if this insane concept worked? For someone who has based their whole identity on being cautious, it is a terrible concept. The reality is that they are unable to avoid it. There has never been any predictability in the world. Until it became the new normal, innovation always seemed wild. Despite their best efforts, reality does not yield to their comfort zones. That was shown by your vision. You've already moved on while they're still dealing with their existential crisis, which is live evidence that change is the only thing that is constant in this life, whether or not they're prepared for it. The rite of passage is loneliness. Being alone is not a punishment. Rather, it is an initiation that all visionaries must go through. People instinctively turn away from you when your views go beyond what is considered normal. They just can't connect, not because they despise you. For those who need the security of familiarity, the fact that you have left the well-traveled route is frightening. The loneliness hurts at first. To comprehend why you're prepared to sacrifice everything for a concept that only lives in your head, you want others to see what you see. However, they are unable to. Thus, they withdraw, shake their heads, or provide courteous but incredulous support. And there you are, in the middle of nothing, wondering whether you've gone insane. The twist is that miracles are created in the wilderness. It eliminates the need for applause, the noise, and the viewpoints. You gain self-confidence in that isolation. When no one is present to support your vision, you learn to find strength in it. The true metamorphosis takes place there, and the world starts to take notice when you eventually come out of that exile with the embodiment of what they used to laugh at. By that time, however, their approval is irrelevant. You've already laid the groundwork for something more robust: isolated self-belief. Therefore, if you find yourself in that lonely area, know that it's your rite of passage and not a punishment. It's where visionaries are created, uncertainty is eliminated, and you discover that you only ever needed your own approval. You'll be happy when the world catches up, since you prevailed in the woods long before they realized you were gone. Insults are the money of the blind. It's not because you're incorrect when others abuse you for your beliefs. Rather, it's because you've touched a raw nerve. The delicate ecology they have established around their cozy, predictable lives is under threat from you. People are afraid of things that make them consider their own limits. And, instead of facing that uneasiness, they attack the individual who dared to believe differently. You are that person. The cheapest money for the blind is mockery. They have nothing to gain by making fun of your aspirations or calling you a deluded. The reality is, however, that every insult is an unconscious acknowledgement that you're right about something they don't get. And in order to comprehend it, they would need to mature, to broaden their perspectives, and take chances they are too scared to take. They secretly feel uneasy about your bravery. You have the gall to cross the line and question the rules they have slavishly adhered to their whole lives. They are anxious because, should you succeed, it would force them to face the harsh reality that their restrictions were self-imposed and never existed. And it's a difficult pill to take. The intriguing part, however, is that insults are an indication that you're headed in the correct direction. You're getting closer to breaking through the louder they become. Nobody is interested in dismantling mediocrity. They target anything that might alter the course of the game. Let them make fun of it. Allow them to whisper. Their mockery is only a front for their anxiety. And those insults will go more quickly than they ever appeared when your crazy idea turns into something they can't live without. They realize in their hearts that you were never the issue. All you demonstrated was how narrow their world was. Too soon, is only the safety net of civilization. They are really saying, "I'm not ready to understand it," when they remark, "It's too early for that idea." The idea of too soon is a safeguard that society utilizes to shield itself from the unease that comes with change. The paradox is that innovation is never precisely timed for the current moment. It is made with the future in mind. Guess what happens if your ideas are widely accepted and seem natural? They are already out of date. The world doesn't advance by waiting for approval. Long before society feels prepared, trailblazers push the envelope, cause controversy, and disturb the status quo. Consider this. Social media was written off as a passing craze among teenagers, yet it went on to revolutionize politics, commerce, and communication. Once dismissed as unrealistic dreams, whole countries are now vying for the adoption of electric vehicles. Every revolutionary concept seemed out of place until the world adjusted. The too soon argument is only a societal attempt to hold on to the past, because it makes them reevaluate their routines, convictions, and presumptions. People are afraid of the unexpected, since embracing innovation would force them to adjust more quickly than they are used to. They describe it as premature. However, adaptability is unavoidable. Whether you take the lead or are pulled along by it is the only question. Therefore, grin when they tell you it's too soon. They haven't yet envisioned the environment in which you now operate. Your timing is ideal for the future that is going to happen. It is not premature. And by the time they say the world is ready, you'll be far ahead of them, working on the next too soon concept that will completely change the game. Visionaries create the future rather than forecast it. Visionaries are too busy creating the future to be concerned with forecasting it. Visionaries get their hands dirty and begin constructing what doesn't yet exist, while others search for clues and wait for a celestial alignment. They create the future with each choice, activity, and move they take rather than waiting for it to happen. A visionary is different from a dreamer in that the former creates things, while the latter waits for them to happen. The cosmos reacts to creation, rather than just fulfilling desires. Visionaries are aware of this. They know that the future doesn't just happen because you dreamed it. It happens because you worked hard to make it happen. The germ for every great innovation and groundbreaking concept was sown by someone who dared to question, "Why not?" rather of making educated guesses about what would happen. They molded, tested, and made it concrete. It wasn't a forecast when they stated that every household would have a personal computer or electric automobiles. Rather, it was a belief that the world might be different and that they would be the ones to create it. Therefore, don't attempt to guess what will happen next. The future is waiting for your plan, not your prediction, as the great visionary understands. And you're down here on Earth, creating a reality that others will eventually deem inevitable, while everyone else is attempting to interpret the stars. One invention at a time, you're creating things rather than waiting for them to happen. Awe replaces laughing as the dominant emotion. Initially, they chuckle. It's a normal response to anything they don't grasp or accept right away. Your ideas are too radical, too audacious, or too large for their constrained perspective. As a result, people make fun of you, write you off as insane, or disregard you as having unreasonable expectations. It serves as a safeguard. Belittling anything new is the simplest approach to deal with its unpleasantness. Then, however, something changes. The derision transforms into interest. They start to give it another glance as your vision begins to come to life. They realize that what you're doing is genuine and not just some crazy dream. It's taking place and becoming more popular. Your lunacy suddenly becomes something to research. In an attempt to figure out how you accomplished something they believed was impossible, people begin to pay attention to the nuances they previously overlooked. And this drama's last act? Imitation. The same individuals who scoffed at you begin to imitate your strategies when you prove your ideas are effective and that they are not only legitimate but also strong. They use your words, ideas, and techniques into their own work. The worst part is that they will pretend that they have always been on your side. The cheers they formerly refused to give? It's all yours now. However, they will act as if they realized your genius sooner rather than later. The cycle, which goes from derision to imitation, and from laughter to awe, is as ancient as time itself. Soon, everyone will be attempting to duplicate what you formerly found difficult to establish. You'll go on to your next big idea while they're riding your coattails, proving to them once again that the future was always yours to shape. Disruptors are dangers, not heroes. Do not anticipate a hero's welcome or parade when your concept becomes a reality and challenges the current quo. Instead, you'll experience terror because it calls for change. Innovation has a way of endangering people in positions of authority. Additionally, change implies that things won't function the same as they have in the past. Despite its flaws, people cling to the familiarity of the old because it is comfortable. You become a danger when you provide something novel, something that contradicts what they are used to. Because they don't follow the rules, disruptors don't get special recognition. The same systems that have profited from the previous order are upset because they are changing the rules. You will be seen as a threat to the authority of those in charge, those whose hands are firmly clutching the existing quo. They will attempt to stifle your creativity, undermine your ideas, and write you off as a passing fad. Why? Because their significance is at jeopardy because of your achievement. Without attempting to squash it, they cannot afford to let anything new grow. Examine any historical revolutionary concept. Seldom were those who ventured to bring anything revolutionary hailed right away. They were studied, feared, and even made fun of. The world didn't realize the importance of what had been presented until the dust cleared and the invention was unquestionable. Even while they still disliked the change, those who opposed it had to come to terms with it at that point. Therefore, don't anticipate a hero's response when you defy the status quo. Anticipate opposition. You should expect to be feared by those who profit from the old method. However, you will ultimately be the one to alter the rules, while others are stuck clinging to an outdated system. The cost of unconventionality. It's not cheap to break the norm. Being unconventional comes at a significant cost, including rejection, social exclusion, and mockery. Not only are you questioning conventions when you go off the beaten road, but you are also questioning people's comfort levels. You will seem as a danger to those around you who are mired in their ruts. Their feeling of control will be disrupted by your thoughts, your vision, and your mere presence. They will thus reject you. Before you even begin, they will make you feel like an outcast, as if your unorthodox route is a sign of failure. But here's the thing. The real cost starts to mount the minute you start creating a stir. The folks who used to make fun of your ideas now turn away, preferring conformity to advancement. They will call you unreasonable, insane, or too ambitious. Some may even pull away from you, as if your eyes would catch theirs and make them seem dumb. It seems like you're the only one in the room who believes in what you're doing, which causes loneliness to set in. However, the story shifts when the tide turns, when your unconventional idea becomes a reality. The same individuals who abandoned you will pretend to have been on your side the whole time. As if they never had any doubts about you, they will say they always knew you would succeed. Their disapproval turns into adoration, but it's phony since they weren't around when things became difficult. And that's the cost of being unconventional. Staying faithful to your vision when the quiet around you seems deafening is more important than just fighting against rejection from others. Knowing that you were correct in spite of everything is the prize, not their approbation. Everyone is now rushing to follow you since you shattered the mold. The truth is painful until it gets better. Not only is it a personal triumph when your idea materializes, but it also serves as a harsh mirror of all that others were too scared to accept. Your success is about demonstrating to everyone around you that the constraints they have been living inside were self-imposed, not merely about proving your theories were correct. Since it causes people to face their own limits, the reality of your manifestation is like a kick to the belly. All of their preconceived notions about what is possible are upended the instant they see you doing the precise thing they earlier wrote off as impossible. But first, the reality doesn't feel nice. It hurts. And for those who rejected or questioned you, it often results in a wave of remorse, shame, or insecurity. It serves as a bitter reminder of the chances they missed, the dangers they avoided, and the dread that prevented them from moving on. They are forced to examine their own life and ask themselves, why didn't I believe after seeing your achievement? What prevented me from taking that risk? That's the true disruption, not your success per se, but the unsettling reality it exposes. The untapped potential in everyone around you is reflected in your manifestation, which functions as a mirror. And facing that reflection is difficult for many people. It reveals the uncertainties they've had for years, as well as the chances they've lost due to their preference for safety over danger. The beauty of the truth is that, while it hurts, it also heals. It challenges individuals to think about fresh options and shakes them out of their complacency. Others are challenged to overcome their own fears and limiting beliefs as a result of your accomplishment, which accomplishes more than simply affirm your vision. When they eventually realize how powerful it is to believe in something greater than themselves, the pain will subside. And maybe, just perhaps, they will have the guts to make their own reality. Ultimately, being a visionary is not about getting approval from people or living up to their expectations. It's about having the guts to envision a world that doesn't yet exist and creating it in spite of any doubt or opposition you encounter. It won't be an easy trip. It will be full of rejection, loneliness, and laughter. However, every obstacle is a necessary step in the process that fortifies your determination and increases your level of attention. When your idea comes to life, it will be more than simply a personal victory. It will be the upheaval that compels others to face their own limits and anxieties. And even though people may first make fun of or ignore you, it won't be long before they turn to you for guidance, because they will realize that what they previously thought was impossible is now the new normal. The benefits of being unconventional are incalculable, but the cost is high. Not only will you transform your life, but you will also advance the planet in ways that others never imagined. Accept the uncertainties, the loneliness, and the mockery, because they are evidence that you are headed in the correct direction. Continue to create, push, and materialize the future. Even if the world isn't prepared for you yet, it will be sooner than they thought. It's time to act if this struck a chord with you. Don't allow criticism, uncertainty, or fear to stop you. Make sure you click the subscribe button if you're prepared to design, disrupt, and actualize your own future. Join the movement of people who are prepared to change the world into something better and who will not accept it as it is. Don't keep this to yourself too. Give this video to someone who should see it, because the world needs more creators, not more followers. Let's go on this road together, if you're dedicated to realizing your greatness. Let's start this discussion by leaving a comment and clicking the like button. Your vision is important. The world is waiting for what only you can create, so continue to be brave, courageous, and creative. May you be blessed.